The sirens cut through the intersection before the scene even fully comes into focus. Red and blue lights reflect off windshields and storefront windows as patrol vehicles push through traffic. "You're good. You're good," one officer says to another as they clear the light. There's urgency but not panic. This is a controlled response to something that has already happened. When they arrive, confusion reigns. A white vehicle sits awkwardly angled near the intersection. A truck with a trailer is stopped further ahead. Debris is scattered lightly across the roadway. Drivers stand outside their cars, some shaken, some visibly frustrated. One woman appears to be limping. Another person is off to the side, having run from one vehicle to another, possibly while on the phone with emergency dispatch. "Are you hurt?" an officer asks. "I'm okay," comes the reply, though the hesitation in the voice suggests uncertainty. The officers immediately shift into traffic control mode. One unit blocks off part of the intersection. Another directs vehicles around the crash site. The immediate priority is safety, preventing secondary collisions and clearing enough space to assess injuries. The first driver explains what happened. They had been in a turning lane, realized it was the wrong lane, and merged into the straight-through lane. According to their account, as they completed the merge, a truck with a trailer moved across lanes and made contact with their vehicle. "He cut over from the other lane," the driver says. "We were already over. Then his trailer hit us." The officer nods, absorbing details. He asks about another person who had exited the vehicle and run down the road. "She was on the phone with 911, the driver explains, trying to tell them what vehicles were involved. The officer glances toward the truck. Its trailer shows visible marks near the rear tire area. "Let me get his side," the officer says. The truck driver stands calmly near his vehicle, hands loosely at his sides. He speaks with measured clarity. He had been in the right lane, he says. Traffic was backing up for a turn. He merged left, nearly halfway through the lane change when he felt an impact. "I saw him in the mirror," the truck driver explains. "He was turning sharply right. I only saw him when my trailer caught his bumper." Two accounts, two perspectives, both drivers convinced of what they saw. The officer steps back, scanning the roadway, the positions of the vehicles, the direction of impact, the point where the trailer appears to have made contact. He reconstructs the timeline silently. A second officer suggests, quietly, "Sounds like a failure to yield from the white. It's not an accusation yet, just an early impression." Emergency medical services arrive shortly after. A woman with a previously injured leg complains of pain. "It don't make you no better than I already got a messed up leg," she says, frustrated. Paramedics assess her condition while officers continue documenting the scene. Meanwhile, traffic remains partially blocked. Officers instruct drivers to move vehicles into a nearby parking lot once it's safe to do so. When the light turns green, cut it all the way to the right and pull into the Bank of America lot, one officer directs.
Vehicles reposition slowly.
The scene becomes more orderly. As the crash investigation continues, officers begin formal questioning. They confirm who was in which seat. They clarify why one passenger exited the vehicle. They confirm whether anyone saw the initial movement from the turning lane. Details matter. Lane position, signal use, speed, distance between vehicles. The truck driver reiterates that he completed most of his lane change before feeling the impact. The other driver insists they had already merged safely and that the trailer drifted into their lane. The officer studies the damage patterns carefully. Then the focus shifts slightly. An officer asks the truck driver to step aside briefly. "You have anything on you that would poke me or stick me?" "No," the driver replies. He is asked to face the vehicle and remove his shoes. It's procedural, calm. The tone is controlled, but the direction is clear. The driver looks confused. "Just don't tell my wife," he says nervously. "She's due in 2 weeks." The officer offers a faint reassurance. "We don't want to put that stress on her." Then comes a phrase that shifts the moment. "You're going to need to somehow get a bond." The driver's expression tightens. "What do you mean, bond?" The officer checks the radio. There had been prior communication about an outstanding matter. The details are not explained in full on scene, but it's clear something unrelated to the crash has surfaced during the traffic stop and identification process. The officer confirms the spelling of the driver's last name. He double-checks identifiers. He ensures everything matches the information returned. You might just get processed and released, the officer explains, or they'll give you another court date. The truck driver nods slowly, absorbing the reality. He is guided toward the patrol vehicle. "I've never used one of these seat belts before," he says awkwardly as he sits inside. "It's got 2 latches," the officer replies. One click, then another. The cruiser door shuts. Back at the crash scene, officers continue documenting skid marks, lane positions, and statements. The immediate medical concerns are handled first. Injuries are noted. EMS clears the patient for transport or release based on evaluation. The white vehicle's driver remains visibly shaken but cooperative. Officers explain that citations or findings will be determined after reviewing all statements and evidence. Traffic begins flowing again. The truck remains parked momentarily until arrangements are made. Inside the cruiser, the arrested driver stares forward quietly. The flashing lights reflect faintly off the dashboard. The arrest is not chaotic. It is procedural. The crash investigation continues separately. In many traffic incidents, there is no clear villain. There are split-second decisions, imperfect visibility, assumptions about space and timing. Lane merges happen dozens of times per hour at busy intersections. Most end without incident. Some don't. This one ended with bent metal, conflicting stories, and one driver being taken into custody. Not necessarily because of the collision itself, but because routine identification checks sometimes reveal additional circumstances. Bodycam footage captures the layered nature of roadside policing. First, emergency response. Clear the intersection. Check for injuries. Second, investigation. Gather statements. Observe damage. Third, enforcement. Act on information returned through dispatch. Each layer unfolds methodically. The emotional center of the scene is the woman with the injured leg. She expresses frustration not just at the crash, but at the disruption. The truck driver expresses fear, not of the accident, but of what it means for his family. Officers maintain professional detachment while still offering small human reassurances. "We don't want to put stress on her." Small words, heavy context. The crash itself will likely be reconstructed later through diagrams and measurements. Insurance companies will analyze liability. Traffic court may review citations. But the bodycam captures something else, the human texture of roadside uncertainty. The driver who thought he had merged safely. The truck operator who believed he had nearly completed his lane change. The passenger sprinting down the road while relaying vehicle descriptions to dispatch. The injured leg that makes everything hurt more. And finally, the quiet moment when a driver realizes that beyond the crash, there is another legal issue waiting. You're going to need to get a bond. In less than an hour, the intersection returns to its ordinary rhythm. Cars line up at the light. Turn signals blink. Trailers pass through. There is no visible sign that just minutes earlier, sirens cut through the air. But somewhere down the road, inside a holding facility, paperwork begins. Names are entered, charges confirmed, bonds set, and somewhere else, an insurance adjuster will ask the same questions the officer did. Which lane? How fast? Who merged first? The bodycam doesn't answer those questions definitively. It only captures the process. The sirens fade. The lights power down. The intersection remains. And the consequences move forward, quietly, methodically, just like the patrol vehicle that carried one of the drivers away.